No mai, haere mai, mā loi lele, welcome to 3 News. Christchurch's state of emergency has been extended, and as we go to air tonight, the Banks Peninsula community of Little River remains cut off. There are still households without power in Canterbury and Wellington, where potentially life-threatening winds wreaked havoc. Juliet Speedy is with us. Juliet, where are the major trouble spots tonight?
Well, Laura, here in the central city, you'd be forgiven for thinking things are all relatively back to normal. We're even under clear skies here now, but unfortunately that's not the case for other parts of Canterbury, particularly Banks Peninsula, which is largely cut off. In Taitapu, the line between paddock and pond has officially vanished. Flooding at this level, a farmer's normal nightmare. But when this Taitapu paddock turned into a lake, one local farmer decided to enjoy the commute. Commuting, though, wasn't easy for some in Canterbury today. This man nearly didn't make it through.
That was a very brave manoeuvre you just pulled off then. How was that?
Well, I don't think it was brave. I think he was a bit bloody mad, actually. But it didn't look too bad. But when I got halfway across, I wish I hadn't bothered.
The fourth wettest day on record in Christchurch has impacted some communities badly. In Selwyn's Doyleston, the water didn't knock, it walked right in. Total devastation inside Tom Darwey's home.
It was pretty bad. The place was surrounded. The water was coming in the front, going out the back. It's about 6 to 8 inches inside. Yeah, pretty disappointing.
He says it didn't have to happen.
The council knew this event was coming. Last weekend the weather was fine, perfect conditions for opening the lake. So if the lake had been opened, chances are the boggy creek across the road wouldn't have flooded, wouldn't have backed up and come across the road into all these sections.
It was both sides of Doyleston. And it came quicker. That we had it all under control, we thought, and we kept the council culvert open for them. And then we went off to lunch because we thought we had it under control. Came back 25 minutes later, and it was all flooded. Christchurch's
rivers ran high and wide, and officials know just how close it got.
If rain had gone on for much longer, we would have been in deep strife.
In Littleton, one new build met the hillside head-on. Its owners were forced to evacuate. And forget getting over the hill, Dyers Pass was closed due to slips. While most of the city recovered fairly quickly overnight, you'll see it's a completely different story once you get out rurally. We're here in Taitap, only 15 minutes out of the city, where much of the farmland and many streets remain well underwater. Volunteers were out and about across Canterbury.
We will come in at the back end. We can help support and just clean up their sections, their houses, anything they sort of need that the emergency services might have carried on and already done.
Parts of Banks Peninsula still cut off.
Today I was very lucky that we were able to get in the air and actually get around the Southland district. Obviously a lot of surface flooding, which is to be expected when you consider the amount of rain that we've had in the last 48 hours. We landed and we were able to visit with the community in Little River, and again I have to say that that community has been extremely resilient. They have been cut off.
Further north, the clean-up begins after yesterday's weather battered the capital. Power is still out to some parts. Lines of debris from yesterday's storm litter Eastbourne. You can see the blue truck here is on a dry road today. Less than 24 hours ago, this road wasn't visible. Flights resumed into Wellington today, but the choppy conditions near land were clear from the air, making the descent a little ropey. But most, like this one, were successful. Plane spotting on the ground shows you just how impressive that is, with gale southerlies gusting 110 kilometres an hour. Filming the planes, no easy task. The Perth Glory football team never made it, so tonight's match against the Phoenix has been postponed until Sunday. Many events back in the south also called off. Looks like rugby's on hold at Waihora Rugby Club. But there's always jet boating.
OK, Juliet, as you said, Banks Peninsula is largely cut off and there's a risk in Akaroa tonight.
That's right, Laura. Akaroa, which is the main township there over in Banks Peninsula, has a hazard that's really worrying authorities. There's a giant crack that's come up across the hillside and over a road, Lighthouse Road, which is now cut off from the bottom. Now, properties around Lighthouse Road have already been evacuated, and authorities say they aren't ruling out further evacuations if conditions do change. They've had geotech engineers on site there all day. So Canterbury is very much still reeling from the big wet and is still under a state of emergency and will still be drying out for a few days yet.
Juliet Speedy, thanks so much for that update. Meanwhile, in Auckland, there was some brief wild weather from around lunchtime. Lightning struck the Sky Tower, just one of around 160 lightning strikes for the super city. Hail, some as big as 20 millimetres in diameter, and heavy rain swept across the city, with surface flooding in areas too. Well, Imogen's here with the weather, and you've got some stats on all of this activity over the last couple of days.
I do, Laura, and they show there was a lot of rain and a lot of wind. Canterbury got up to 200 millimetres of rain between Wednesday and Friday. Banks Peninsula got up to 300. Now, the wettest parts of Wellington, they recorded between 120 and 150 millimetres in that same 3-day time frame, with waves measuring 12 metres off of the capital's southern coast. Wind-wise, Wellington Airport got its strongest southerly since 2013 with 118 kilometre winds. And at the top of Mount Coco in Kandala, that recorded a gust of 168 kilometres before bad weather forced that particular wind gauge offline. I'll be back later for more on what's coming up.